Hello, everyone. We are getting started for another SciStarter Live webinar right now. So as you're watching on Facebook, feel free to join us by registering, and you can just hop right onto Zoom. You can also stay on. Hello, everyone. We are getting started. For happening. There we go. Alrighty. And Roland, if you wouldn't mind dropping that registration link in the chat on Facebook, that would be amazing. And in the meantime, I'll go ahead and share my screen. So for anyone who's joining us, we also have a bunch of people already online. Welcome, everyone. Hi. I'm going to share my screen. There we go. Alrighty, so as we're joining, I'll give it a couple of seconds so we can see more people in the attendee list, and then we'll get started. It is Tuesday, June 13th. Get ready to do another SciStarter Live. This one's going to be a pretty quick-paced conversation about how to become a SciStarter Ambassador at your library and help them integrate citizen science into their work. So we will get started right about now. Sure. All right. We're going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to just re-announce this is SciStarter Live. We are a webinar that happens once a week on Tuesdays at this time at 2 p.m. Eastern or 11 a.m. for me on Pacific time. And today we're going to be talking about the library program and how to become a SciStarter Ambassador at your local library. If you want to introduce yourself in the chat, you are more than welcome to. We'll have a chance to test out your chat and Q&A function in a moment here. So my name is Emma Giles, just to introduce the team. I'm a program coordinator. I'm usually here for SciStarter Live to host it. And alongside me always is Roland, or Roland in French. We talked about this earlier. Roland, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, thank you. So I'm Roland, Quality Assurance Coordinator for SciStarter. I'll be dropping some links today.
Awesome. Yeah, and if you have any technical difficulties, feel free to contact both myself or Roland in the chat, and we will do our best to help you out. In addition to us, and in a different page right now, we have Trevor, and then Tara's joining us from our library network team. I'm going to have you both introduce yourselves and go through that. Tara, do you want to start us off?
Sure. Hi, everyone. Great to see you. I'm curious where everyone's from in the chat. I see people from San Antonio, from North Carolina. I am joining from the Jersey Shore, but I also live in Philadelphia, which is about an hour from the Jersey Shore, but my parents live down here, so I get to enjoy the shore in the summer. I am the director of the National Citizen and Community Science Library Network with SciStarter and Arizona State University. I also work for an organization called the National Girls Collaborative Project, where we advance gender equity in STEM for girls and other historically excluded youth and people. And so that's my passion, is really providing equitable STEM experiences. And I really, really love working with libraries because I think that they are a wonderful community resource and at the forefront of STEM in a lot of ways. So we'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment.
Awesome. Trevor, go for it.
Hi, everyone. I'm Trevor. I'm the content and program coordinator here at SciStarter. I've also been a community advocate for citizen science since 2018, even doing a couple events before that, but really focusing on it since 2018. Aside from being passionate about citizen science, I also work in the medical research field as well. My main focus is not just being an advocate for citizen science, but really being an advocate for citizen science when it comes to public health and health equality as well. So need to be here to discuss bringing citizen science to local libraries.
Awesome. Great. Thank you both. And then just a reminder, most of you have figured out how to use the chat, I hope. But if you want to use the Q&A to ask any questions about the library network, any programs through SciStarter or citizen science as a whole, you are more than welcome to use the Q&A function, and we will get to those throughout this event if they are relevant to the moment, or we will address them at the very end. And you can use the chat to make commentary or share your own experiences with the things that we talk about, and we would love to hear about it. So go ahead and keep using those things. In the meantime, before we get started with anything else, we just want to have a baseline understanding if any of you are already volunteers. Now, you might need to write this actually in the chat instead. Oh, wait, just kidding. I think I did add it. You can answer it in the poll specific spot, which Roland will drop, or I actually can. Let's see. There it is. Okay, you should be able to see it right now. So have you ever volunteered at your library before? Got about 26% of you answering, 33. We wait till at least 30%, or 30%, excuse me, 80%, 60%. We're so close. It looks pretty split too. This is interesting. I'm excited to hear some of your thoughts on
Vanessa said for programs or in general? In general right now. We're just curious in general. Have you ever volunteered at your library before?
oh, yes. We're a couple shy of 80%. The last few want to add in their thoughts. Oh, awesome. Okay, cool. I'm going to go ahead and end that poll so you can see the responses. So 62% of you have already volunteered at your local library. So that is very exciting. And for those of you who have not, we're excited to get you on board for this. For those of you who have, though, I'm excited to see what thoughts you have on your experiences and what has really helped you. So please keep those things in mind as we get started. So before we get moving beyond that, just to get us at a baseline for citizen science as a whole, we define citizen science as a collaboration between scientists and those of us who are curious, concerned, and motivated to make a difference. It's how people can make an impact on the issues they care about and help science. And what we say to everyone who joins us for these events and for any version of citizen science, we always recommend joining SciStarter as an account holder, because then you can use that lovely database of thousands of projects to save them and look into them later. And we also have an entire page on libraries. So at the top here, this is an older picture, but there's an entire section for libraries on the site when you head over to scistarter.org. In addition to having that database and that entire page, we also have trainings. And if you've taken the foundations training, you actually have access to the library specific training, which we always recommend as someone who wants to get involved with libraries or volunteering, or just inviting your community into the citizen science community. Using libraries is a big part of that, or a big benefit to that process. So that'll be available to you as well. All right, without further ado, I'm going to pass the baton over to Tara to talk about how to become an ambassador to your local at your local library. All right, take it away.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Yeah, so before we get started with how to become an ambassador, we just want to tell you a little bit about this initiative, the National Citizen and Community Science Library Network. It was launched in 2020 or 2021, and really it's based on years and years of work with SciStarter and Arizona State University, who've been supporting libraries, specifically in Arizona, for a long time, to become community hubs for citizen science, to build citizen science kits with specialized tools to be able to participate in different research projects, to host events, to introduce communities to citizen science. And then in 2021, we decided to expand that, and now we've launched this national network. So I see there are some libraries here, and I encourage you all to sign up for the library network to receive our newsletter. We are always featuring professional development opportunities, funding opportunities, ways to connect with each other around this concept of becoming a community hub for citizen science. And so we are growing, and one of the biggest needs that we've seen is this idea of bringing together passionate citizen scientists and other volunteers to partner with their local libraries to help expand the programming happening at the libraries. Libraries are wonderful resources, and they're also in a bit of a time of need right now in terms of staffing and post-COVID support, especially around some more robust programming like the citizen science programming. So that is what we're doing here today. We are just doing sort of a teaser today to think about some concepts together, and then really want to hear from you as far as what are some ways that you've partnered with your libraries, what are things that work. And then we're going to be expanding the resources for volunteers to be able to partner with communities. So this is just the start of a much larger conversation around this idea of a SciStarter ambassador. And we're really going to be relying on you all to tell us what that means for you, and the libraries to tell us what their needs are. And we're sort of the conduit, the facilitators of this conversation. So we've thought through some steps, sort of high level steps for what for how to become a SciStarter ambassador to your library. So next slide, please, Emma. And these steps come from listening to libraries. We have many libraries in our network and as our advisors. And the first thing that what a librarian will tell you is that you need to find the right person at the library to get in touch with. Identify the person that is in charge of the programming, specifically programming for the community. Now, this could be a youth librarian, this could be an adult services librarian, and I know we have some librarians in the chat. Let us know as well, what are some strategies for helping to identify that person in charge? One of the things we suggest you do is email or go to the library and ask who might be in charge of this type of programming, about programming that revolves around learning, community support, events. Also, like I mentioned, there are hundreds of libraries already invested in citizen science. And so we have, I know Roland put a library locations link in the chat, which are some of our libraries that host citizen science kit. But we also have about 500 libraries that have signed up for the network that are doing lots of different type of programming. So right now, I'm going to drop a Google form in the chat here, and these are our libraries that have currently signed up for the network. So take a look at that and let us know if a library in your community is on that list. So they may be on the list, or they may have never heard about citizen science. So you kind of want to know once kind of where they're starting, which is our next step. Step 2, Emma, I think you have to click through it. Yes. Get to know your library. I'm sure you all know your libraries already, but thinking about a little bit about what type of programming is already happening at your library that looks similar to maybe a citizen science program. What are the needs of your library? What are the requirements and the rules for volunteering at your library? Every library is different, so we really encourage you to ask these questions. And Sherry put in the chat, we have a small library, so ask the circulation desk. I love to collaborate with community organizations. That's amazing. So yes, so asking the right person, asking these questions are sort of the first 2 steps. And then share your time and your resources. So here at SciStarter, we have developed a ton of resources for libraries. So we encourage you to get to know some of those resources by checking out scistarter.org/library. We have developed kit building guides so that libraries can build the citizen science kits. We have event planning support to host citizen science programs. We have the trainings that Emma mentioned that are not just for citizen scientists, but for those that are library staff that want to become hubs for community science and citizen science. So check out the resources, and then we're working on an email template right now that we're going to send out to you that sort of lists these things in an accessible way, so that once you get to know your library, figure out who the right person to talk to, then you can send those resources along. And I'm just looking at the chat. So Vanessa says, not currently on the list. That's great. So if your library is not currently on the list, we encourage you to reach out and let them know about scistarter.org/library and the library resources, and let them know about the training, and start having a conversation about what is citizen science and why it is an important community initiative and how libraries are becoming hubs. We've done many webinars as well that you can share, and we'll send all of this in a follow-up email too, so that you have those links readily available that you can share out with your library. And Matt says, hey, Livonia, Michigan is on the list. Yay, that's wonderful. So once you have the right person to talk to, you've gotten to know what the needs are of your libraries, you're able to start that conversation and share your resources in your time. However, the next step is to co-create with your community. Be that community liaison with those civic local leaders and your library. Identify what projects are meaningful to your community, right? We know that citizen science projects are vast, and some are able to be done globally, but there are many that are hyper local. And sometimes those projects just resonate better because the local community has so much meaning and desire to improve and come together around these issues. So thinking about and listening to your community, being that community liaison, sharing the SciStarter resources, having events together, bringing people together and starting the conversation. Those are sort of our 4 tips for now. And as I mentioned, we're going to be developing some additional resources like an email template that you can use to reach out to your library, and other resources for folks to help us get the word out about this library network. Feel free to put questions in the chat. I'll just wrap up because I know we want to get to Trevor, who is going to tell us about some specific examples of ways that he's been working with his library. Some insider tips. One of the things we've heard a lot is that libraries need a long lead time to host programs. So one of the things is sort of have that conversation about expectations. You might have a great idea and libraries might be really into it, but it might not be able to fit into their seasonal programming. And it might be a long time until you are able to host a citizen science event. Figure out who those gatekeepers are. Finding the right person can be challenging. And so that is really one of our first strategies. Think about the staffing shortages that libraries are having across the country. And then volunteering can look like a lot of different things. As many of you know who have volunteered before, it can help with reshelving books, it can help with programming, it can help with cataloging. So really having that conversation about expectations between what the expectations are of yourself as a volunteer is super important. And Darlene mentions even global projects can be done locally. For example, tracking pollinators and monitoring air quality. Absolutely. So there are global projects that work locally. And then as you know, the SciStarter project finder can help you find projects that are right in your backyard as well. So that's all I have as far as strategies. And I'm going to turn it over to Trevor now. But feel free to keep putting questions in the chat. And like I said, this is the beginning of this conversation around how to become a SciStarter ambassador. Trevor, go ahead.
That's my main goal today is just kind of share my experience of what I did, kind of going through the steps in my local library, even for local community organizations and libraries. Even before I was working with SciStarter. So kind of just starting out from the beginning. Emma, next slide, please. I started out not doing this linear process. I started out as actually step 4, running own events, own organizations, and it was amazing. Some of the pictures where I did local Citizen Science Month events back in 2019, I believe that was, 2018. My first BioBlitz event. All this was a co-created. I worked with the local metro parks for that part, for that BioBlitz. So that's how I started out this whole process. Emma, next slide. Some of the events that I held were the BioBlitz events, science cafes, cleanup events, presentations on citizen science, as well as iNaturalist, doing some tutorials for the public. Next slide. Okay, these are kind of some of the pictures from the first BioBlitz, and it was amazing to get the community involved, and it was a great way to build up excitement and interest in this idea of citizen science. So this is from a couple of the events, just local wildlife that we found. Some of the many pictures that we had. So Emma, next slide. It was amazing to get that experience and build up the community involvement. But I do want to stress, if you are looking to do something like this, starting at step 4 is very difficult. You get very tired very quickly, especially if you don't have the support of these organizations, being a single person or even a small group, organizing big events like the BioBlitz, presentations, science cafes can be tiring. So I highly recommend going through the steps as Tara proposes them. Step 1 being reaching out to the library, identifying that right person. That way you can build a support system to not only put these events on for your community, but allow you to continue it long term. Actually, I went to, after I kind of learned this lesson, I went to every library within an hour drive from me, just to walk in, show my face, ask them if they've heard of citizen science. So that's kind of where I started, just going from library to library, discussing and asking people, at the front desks, have you heard of citizen science? Do you have any programming like it? And that was that was tough because there is, don't get discouraged. There is a lot of no's you will get because these libraries often, as Sarah said, the programming for these libraries are often set for quite some time out in advance. The most success I've had is actually with local libraries that aren't included in branches, more of a rural libraries. So, Emma, next slide. As step one said, finding that right person, it's important to show your face. You can I've sent emails and messages, phone calls for, like I said, every library. There's probably 50 libraries I have on a list that I've been communicating with. And nothing beat walking into these libraries and showing my face, introducing myself, and that tended to spark more of an interest, more of a conversation compared to just sending a simple message or an email out. Next slide, please. Step two was share your resources. So as was discussed, all the resources that SciStarter has to offer, the building guides, trainings, the library network. There's that Facebook group for librarians in the library network. Great resources, and there's so much more to add to that list. But so one big thing that I stress is make yourself a resource. So when you walk in, don't just pile on, hey, go to SciStarter/libraries, check on all these resources, do the trainings. If you have the ability, make yourself that resource, make yourself that liaison to help them and walk them through the process instead of just dumping on information and having them do their homework. I found it was extremely helpful to always be present and always be there to answer any questions or walk them through that process. Another thing I found was not only sticking with the resources that SciStarter has to offer, and there is a ton, don't be afraid to manipulate those or change them in a way that suits your community needs. I've made several resources myself where there's a list of projects or kits that are really specific to my local community. And I've actually, there'll be an example here in the next couple of slides that shows one of these resources I created. Emma, next slide, please. This is actually one of the resources I created. When I walk into libraries and discuss, if I reach out to the event or the programming coordinator, the individual that's in charge of creating these events, creating these programs at the local library, if I can get a meeting with them, fantastic. I do want to sit down and have a conversation with them, but that's not always the case. People are busy. So I found that it's very helpful to introduce yourself, put that face to the name, and then provide something similar to this. So these are resources. I update this depending on what library I go to. Say if the library is hosting geared towards or programming geared towards kids, schools out for the summer, a lot of libraries are doing this programming. I will tweak the library kit examples and I'll have it geared more towards how they can be utilized with a younger population. But these are things I will hand to the library. The individuals in charge at these libraries for these events, just showing these are some questions that you can answer. Just take a quick look at this. It gives them a starting point. I always put my information there as well, and SciStarters, so they can reach out to the library network directly, or again, talk to me as a local volunteer willing to help out. So, next slide, please. Step three was get to know your library. I always go to the library's website, whichever one I'm communicating with. Wood County is a local one of mine. Just hop on their events page, see what events they're doing, see what events are reoccurring, what are popular. Go to them if you can. Understand what the library is looking for in their programming. It's the best way to show how to present citizen science in a manner that the library is used to and will understand, and in a way that mimics events that they've done previously. So, next slide. Some of the questions that I personally ask myself before I go into a library, like I said, what are the most popular events that are held? What topics does the library focus their events around? What is the target audience? Some libraries don't necessarily have a younger population. Maybe they have a more, most of their patrons may be the senior citizens. So these are questions that you really have to ask yourself before going into discuss citizen science with that individual. Next slide. And lastly is that co-create. This is the last step. This is kind of the last step that I said. This is the step that I started in, but it became very tiring to do. So co-create is where we're at, or where I am at with local libraries right now. I am setting up a local, just a table, a small little area as an introduction to citizen science. What I call a sticky note display. There's one of the resources that we have at SciStarter. It's just a nice little poster. What I'm going to do is put this out on a foam floorboard, have a nice display with books involving maybe field guides to citizen science, and several other books that can mimic projects or topics that are involved in the library kits. And I'll have sticky notes that the community can come in and write down what projects, what topics they're interested in. And this is a great way for a library to start out. They can gauge the interest, they can gauge what their patrons are interested in, what topics they would like to learn more about and participate in before going full force with creating kits and pushing out. So it's an easy way that I found to help libraries start up, start a citizen science program without investing in kits right away. This gets the idea of citizen science to the community while kind of gaining a perspective on what they're looking to have, what topics they are interested in performing. So I believe that is that's it for my presentation. Do we have any questions on anything, or anyone
We
would
had
like to
one
share what
question in
they've
the
done?
chat. I was just going to say we had one question in the chat from Jessica. Will the library ask for credentials? Will they ask who do I work for? Do they have a volunteer system at the library to show how many hours I volunteered? So it really, really does depend on your library. I would say in general, there is a way to track volunteer hours, and depending on what type of volunteering you're doing, I think sometimes there are more stringent background checks and things related to volunteering. So it really depends on the library, but I would say it is, as far as will they ask who do you work for, the libraries in general are very used to the community members voicing their needs, right? They are paid by tax dollars for the most part. They serve the community, and so they're open and willing to have these conversations. So I would not be sort of worried at first and saying like, well, they think I like who is this person coming to me about? They're always excited to learn about new resources, and I would encourage you to start those conversations. Trevor, do you have anything else to say about that?
Out of, like I said, the 50 that I visited every library within an hour drive from me, I've never had that question of where they question my credentials, they question who I am. They're more concerned with me coming in as a citizen and having this idea, and they'll hear you out. So they will, like I said, I have not had that question yet, and I've done probably over 50 libraries. So that's definitely something that should not stop you. Go in, don't be afraid to have those conversations.
Absolutely, they are open to volunteers, Jessica. Yes.
Yes.
I did want to mention, if you were worried about that kind of commentary, just be knowledgeable about the salesman attitude type of scenario. So if you're worried about that, it is important to note that citizen science is it's community activities, and you're not exactly trying to sell them anything that they have to buy. You're just asking them to support your community with activities and like just some kind of engagement. So it really isn't, it's not the same type of sales that they would be hesitant to actually engage with. So keep in mind that like you're there for a really good reason, and something that they're not going to be you're not convincing them to spend a ton of money on something. So
That's a great point.
My library system has a volunteer application that must be filled out. A volunteer has to pass a background check. Thank you for letting us know, Sherry. Yeah, so depending on the library, they might have a very specific system. And becoming a volunteer in general is a very solid way to get into the library and just understand what it's like to be in that library before you know where it might fit to do citizen science in that. And once you are an actual volunteer, you fill out an application, that means that they're more willing to listen to your ideas too. If you had to go through that background check and you're a known volunteer in that circle, in that group. So that could be a really powerful way to get your voice heard too. Yeah, thanks, Sherry. We are at 30 minutes and this was intended to be about 30 minutes. Tara's going to drop, but I can stay online as well as Trevor. I don't know, are you cool to stay for a few?
I'm good to stay on, if we have any questions or.
Yeah, awesome. And Roland will stay as well. I'm going to go ahead and move us to this slide. In the chat, if you have any thoughts that are just going through your brain of things that you think would be helpful in the future, we've mentioned a couple of them, having an email script to go through to reach out to libraries, having a script in general to go and talk to someone at the library. Maybe those things are important to you. If you have specific thoughts of like, oh, I don't know how to do this thing, we'd love to hear from you now, because then we can make plans to support you with those resources in the future. So we look forward to that. And I see a couple of things coming in, so I'm going to keep checking the chat while that happens. So if something comes to mind, let us know. And I'm going to oh, yes. Darlene added into the chat how to talk to us about the ambassador training materials and helping us refine them. You can email us at the info@scistarter.org email. There are a couple ways to reach us, so that's the best one there. Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. Okay, before anyone drops out, I'm going to go ahead and ask one last poll, excuse me. This one is a two-prong poll, so when you see it, there'll be two questions. Based on what you've heard today, we'd like to know how you feel about these things so far. So if you wouldn't mind answering those two polls while I go over anything else onto the Q&A and the chat. Layla in the chat is mentioning about how their library system has an application, but no background check. Never alone in the program, always working with a staff member for everyone's safety. That's great. Yeah, so safety in numbers and being able to connect with individuals like that, that's an even nicer way to have those conversations too. A double-pronged awesomeness. Okay, are the PowerPoint and resources shared today from the deck? Oh, sorry, will all those things be available online or sent to us via email? Yeah, if you registered for this, so you're online with us or you are watching this later, hi, those of you who are doing that, we will send all this stuff via email. In the follow-up email, assuming you registered. And if you have expressed interest in this program in the past, we will email it to those individuals as well. And anyone who is interested and reaches out to us at info@scistarter.org will probably end up with this set of resources as well, this video and the PowerPoint and resources we've already shared. So you are well taken care of. All right, I'm going to take a look at the poll for a second. We're at 86%. I'll let you have 3 seconds, 3, 2, that was not actually seconds, but I'll end it anyway. Okay, so let's take a look. It looks like, how likely are you to reach out to and support citizen science at your local library? About 46% of you say very likely. None of you said unlikely or somewhat unlikely, so thank you, love it. Very happy about that. How confident do you feel about reaching out to your local library? And the majority of you are confident. And none of you are in the lacking confidence area. So I'm very glad about that. So somewhat confident, that is all you really need to get started. You just need one push of, here's some information and we want you to run with it. The beauty of this being at like the start of it and having Trevor here who's gone through the process, I've done a lot of trainings with libraries. You're in a position where we're all getting started with trying to figure out what is the best resource. So having you on board this early and really helping us refine all this is a big deal. And we want to hear from you. So please keep letting us know. I'm glad so many of you feel confident. That's very exciting. Awesome. Cole has written into the chat, any tips for communicating to my bosses? Started working at a library, trying to do, oh, that's awesome. Yay. I'm so excited for you. Let's see, communicating to my bosses. I mean, that kind of depends on the library. So do you work in, if you work in programming already, having opportunities to just work in those brainstorming sessions where like, I know about this really cool thing, that would be really great. I would also think through the ideas or the the topics that interest your community most. So depending on where you are in the world, there might be projects that are hyper local. We've talked to a lot of libraries who have even created their own projects just to make it even more hyper local and then connected it to bigger projects later on. So if there's something that you know is pertinent to your location, how you feel about those things, just making it very relevant is a big deal. So talking to anyone who can do that. Talking to anyone who can relate to you on these relevant topics, and that hopefully that's your bosses talking about something that they enjoy or something that they have interest in, and tying it back to something you know about citizen science is good. Since you're already in the in, you can be the connect and have all those resources available and be ready for the questions, knowing that since you started working at the library, you'll grow in understanding how they work. Jessica, yeah, absolutely, actually. So when we end the call, which I can do in a couple of minutes here, when I end the call, it won't kick you out. You can stay in and just chat with us. I'll even elevate you to panelist if you want to talk face-to-face too. Yeah, that goes for anyone on here if you'd like. We have a good 20 minutes or so before any of us have to be at the next meeting, at our next meeting thing. All right, before I do that though, I just wanted to give you a heads up for upcoming events. So as we go to the second half of June, on the 20th, we're going to be talking about nature photography, which for any libraries who are in areas that are a little more naturey, or even if you have plants outside in general, you don't have to be in a nature area to take pictures of nature. Luckily, we live on planet Earth and not in a box. So if you'd like to learn about how to make that photography even better with two very easy projects to get started in, it's eBird and iNaturalist. You'll be learning from a pro who's also an intern with us at SciStarter. So very exciting time. After that, if any of you are interested in learning about auroras, there's a project called Aurorasaurus out of NASA, and they're going to be teaching us about the nature photography of auroras and why we want pictures of auroras across the world. And I saw someone was from Tucson. If you're still here, did you get to see the auroras in Tucson a month ago or so? I am super interested in hearing that. I live up in Phoenix, so excited to see someone from Arizona on the list. And then for July 4th, that's 4th of July in the US. And so we are taking a break. There won't be a webinar that day, but then we'll see you back the next week. So those are the upcoming things. You can look us up on the blog that's listed here. That would be excellent. Yes, I can. And let me just end this out right here then. So for anyone who's dropping off, just FYI, you can always email us at the info@scistarter.org. It's right here if you need it written out for you. And then we have all these resources, but the Take a Training, I'd say, is probably the most important to you at this moment in time, because this is in reference to the library training specifically. It tells you how to work through all the resources and what is most relevant to libraries based on what we've done over the couple of years too. So there's lots of materials that we've already developed for you that will hopefully help you. It's often used by libraries in order to figure out how to get started. So yeah, and Cole, this would be a great one for you too, to look at this training. Cool. And even motivate your coworkers to use it. Yeah. Awesome. So we will see you next week, or I'm going to go ahead and shut the webinar off and then add you all on as panelists if you'd like to stay on and chat with us. If you are leaving, there is a post-event survey that you can take that Roland just dropped into the chat. We'd love to hear your thoughts. This is also an opportunity to write in anything that you'd like to see from us with regard to library work and how to become an ambassador for your library. Awesome. Okay. Excellent. All right, I'm going to go ahead and end my screen share and check in on Facebook just in case there were any leftover questions. And then we will be able to talk to you all one-on-one if you're staying on. Cool. All right, if you'd like to be promoted to panelist, you are more than welcome to raise your hand and we will do so. I am going to keep it, forewarning for any of you though, I am going to keep it running so that we can have this recorded. So you will be able to speak to us if you'd like, but it will be on the, it'll still be in the webinar recording and on Facebook. So beware. If that's an issue for any of you, keep using the chat or let us know in the chat and we can adjust afterwards. Okay, excellent. If there was anyone that wanted to join us, you can raise your hand and I'll promote you to panelist if you'd like, or just allow you to speak so you don't have to show your face either. Or you can slide off of the, don't have a camera or a speaker. Oh no, Jessica. Okay, let's see, hold on. You had a previous, can there be a breakout room type of Zoom? If you, Jessica, let me give you a different link then, because I actually have a meeting link, so you can sign up to just meet with me separately. We can have a phone call if you'd like to. And that goes for anyone here. Actually, I'll drop it in the chat for you. Once I remember what it is. All right, I don't see any hands raised, so I think we might be okay. If anyone has any last thoughts, that offer is still open. Otherwise, I will close it out in a moment here. Trevor and Roland, any last words of wisdom while we wait a moment?
Well, nothing for me. I just have to say, definitely it gets easier once you go into one library and build up. I was extremely nervous my first library I walked into. One thing that helped me do a library, I did libraries further away and worked my way in. So the first libraries I took care of were actually the ones that were close to an hour away. So I had practice with ones that maybe were further away. So when I did get local, when I did get to libraries that I will be spending the most time with, I was ready to go. I knew how to talk to them. I knew what questions I would be asked. So that's another tip I guess I could give.
Yeah, I almost think like it would also be helpful. In my mind, I'm thinking if I was in somewhere new where I'm like, oh, I haven't talked to a library here, I would look at our the library locator and find one that already has kits so that you can walk in and be like, hey, where are your kits? And then just kind of learn from them what they've done so far, almost to inform how you talk to the other ones in the local area. If there are libraries that already engage in your area, chances are that they have a network of conversations happening anyway. And so you can probably reach out to them as resources to just connect you to the right people. So that could be a really useful tool too. Absolutely. Yeah, I'm glad you had like the version of a practice run. That's good. Everyone needs
The thing about like the libraries around, there is no library in Ohio that has kits, at least in the network. So it was very difficult to find, just to establish those connections. So I love that idea. If there is a library near you that has kits, to go talk to them and build that relationship there and those connections, because that's going to be an extremely easy way to get the ball rolling in other libraries.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, if there aren't any, or Roland, did you have any? I just want to keep pronouncing your name in a French accent. Roland, can you think of anything else that needs to be said?
No, thank you.
Awesome. All right, well, in that case, I guess we will sign off for y'all. We're excited to have you on board. This is going to be awesome. If you need any assistance, please reach out to us, the info@SciStarter.org. I also dropped my meeting link in there. So if any of you want to sign up for a meeting with me, I will get some other volunteer or other library friends on board with us if you would like to talk more specifically too. So we will see y'all next time. So thank you all. Have a great rest of your day.
Bye.